Hello and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by two friends who love cinema. I'm Alfred and I'm joined by my co-host Gus. Tonight, join us as we discuss Scream 6, the Scream rankings, and our 2023 Oscar predictions. So go ahead, get comfortable, and throw on that Do Not Disturb sign as we discuss a busy week in cinema.
Lord, I'm having a heart attack. Damn, this is some scary shit. Oh, I am scared.
What's going on, all my Stab fans? And thank you for checking back in to the Grand Cinema Hotel. As always, I'm joined by Alvaro.
What's up, guys?
And before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. It's much appreciated and it always helps. We're here for a jam-packed episode, but I did want to start with the movie that's dominating the headlines this week. It's a well-known franchise, and it's just further proof that the movies are definitely back. And I'm referring to Scream 6. Alvaro, first impressions, first thoughts.
Scream 6. Wow. Scream 6 was one of those movies that I just kind of was really excited for based on the previews. It was one that we had seen a lot of previews with, a lot of the movies that we were watching upcoming with, but I felt like it never gave too much away. And after seeing the movie, I was just really had fun with this one, honestly, and was really blasted away through having seen all of the other entries into the universe a week prior, as we've kind of been doing this whole month with Creed as well. It's been a pretty franchise heavy month, or a couple weeks, I would say. But this one really stood out to me, which is not usually something you would say for the sixth one. I do think this is one of my favorite into the entry, and I honestly can't wait to kind of just talk about it more.
Yeah, I kind of echo your same sentiments about being this excited about the sixth franchise in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of that many franchises where the sixth one is, spoiler alert, possibly the best one, or maybe second to best one, depending on how you want to rank them. I do think after revisiting the Scream movies, because we'll get to it, but I don't think you had seen all of them prior to this week, correct?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the third one, and I hadn't seen
The fourth one?
I think I had seen the fourth one, but I didn't remember the fourth one.
So the third one is the only one you had?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the third one yet.
What about the second one? You knew you had seen that before?
I had seen the second one, but a long time ago as well. So I didn't.
You're not confusing these with Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, 4.
And that was my that was why I had to go back, because I was like, how much is this? And I think that I remember it's actually just Scary Movie satire. and no, yeah. So I did need a refresher on 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So
yeah, and 5, I know we both watched it last year. I don't know if in our summer movie roundup last year that we ever mentioned it or even referred to it. And I'm going to go back to something else that we did previously, which was the horror movie showdown. I don't even remember if Scream was on the bracket.
no, it
So
wasn't.
forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember it being on the bracket. But I feel like I'm more of a believer in the franchise after this week than I was many years prior. The first one has never been in my top 5, top 10 horror movies of all time. So it's not that I have ever really hated on the franchise. It's just always been kind of middling to me. Even the first one, I don't know if I really love it as much as I do respect it for what it is. So I say all that to say that I was really interested to see how the sixth one was going to go, just because of the I guess you can't call it an original concept or anything like that, but how it felt so fresh even from the trailer. And that's what really got me interested in it was, of course, the cast. I did think that they did a pretty good job in Scream 5, so I was excited for these characters to come back. I mean, Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barea, I mean, they're Mexicans. Come on, stand up, baby. Woo! Representation where it matters the most, right? That was one thing I had told my wife when we walked out of the movie. I was like, don't you love when representation is actually done right? They're just two Mexicans in this movie and they never mention it once. You know what I mean? I was like, this is the kind of stuff I'm asking for. Or, unlike Namor getting air fried by the end of the movie. So I had a lot of personal bias, I guess, going into this movie. But trying to take that bias away, I do think that this is truly an incredible horror movie. After seeing it a second time, which I did with my wife yesterday, just kind of reaffirmed it for me that so far in this year, this is probably one of my favorite movies. And I do think I could see this sticking around for me. Like, I mean, the fact that I've already seen it twice, any of the other Scream movies, like 4 and 5, which are the two I saw in theaters, no, you know what? I've seen 3 in theaters too, because I remember being a little kid. The fact that Scream 3 takes place on a movie set was something that really stood out to me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen 3, 4, and 6 in the theater.
And 5.
No, I didn't see 5
Oh,
in the
you
theater.
did-
I
okay.
saw it on Paramount this was right before my daughter was born, like 2 weeks before she was born. So I just waited to catch it on Paramount. But
I don't remember if I saw it.
I
in the
don't
theater.
think you did you?
No, because I wasn't interested in the at that point. I felt the same way, I guess, how I felt about when we talked about Creed. I didn't think it was anything worth watching, and I don't particularly like the 5th one, so that's why me feeling this way about the 6th one's even more refreshing, I guess, or interesting for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is interesting that for someone who wasn't that into the franchise to now feel like, not that you've been missing out, but just kind of like the curtains have been pulled back and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good, right?
Yeah, I guess in hindsight, you have to buy into the premise that is the Scream movies. And I guess since I was a kid when I watched the first and like the second one that I said, I just took them as scary movies. They're supposed to be scary, but I don't think that's really the premise of the Scream universe.
No,
after
these
going
are
back.
horror comedies, to be honest. And
They
that's not a take. I just feel like if you don't realize that when you're watching these movies, then you're not seeing these the right way.
Yeah, it's
not to
like-
gatekeep, be like, and not you specifically, but I'm just saying, if you don't see these as horror comedies, which is what they are, and they're very successful at being, then yeah, I feel like you're kind of missing the whole point.
Yeah, I think exactly. And I think the first one and especially this one, they slightly salt in the comedic parts, and I think that's where that works more for me, as opposed to as we'll get into it with the rankings, obviously. Some of the other ones tend to lean more into the comedic side of the stuff, and I think that's where I'm like, okay, well, I'm in it here for the slasher kills. I think that's what really does it for me. But I think this 6th one really takes everything that I liked about the first one and all of the other ones and kind of does enough of the mixing of them all together. Especially with there's always like this premise with movies that I've noticed that take place in small towns. A lot of the reboots always, it goes to the big city. You know what I mean? And it always kind of takes away from what makes the other ones really good.
Mhm.
But this is one of the first movies I think that I've seen that it being New York opened up the possibilities to so many more possibilities of who it can be. And I think that worked in a favor for this kind of movie. And I think that's something that usually is like a horror, sequel. No. But that, to me, that comes off as really impressive that they were ambitious with this.
I'm not the biggest fan of like the Friday the 13th movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if those actually all take place at Camp Crystal Lake. And I mean, obviously with Nightmare on Elm Street, they have to take place on Elm Street. It's baked into the premise of the movies. You can't get away with it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, you could just move away from Freddy, right? You just have to not live on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So I do kind of agree with you that maybe taking it out of Woodsboro, the fictional town that the Scream movies take place in, and adding the New York element, it really did do something that I wasn't expecting it to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking that this was going to. I didn't think that. I was like, is New York going to be a character? You know what I mean? Not to reference Woody Allen or anything, but it actually did add to it. Like there's these chilling subway scenes. There's not to spoil it too much, but there's a scene where our characters have to escape their apartment and crawl across a ladder to another apartment. And that was one of the best scenes I've seen in a horror movie in a very long time. So I did think they used New York City to its advantage, and it wasn't just a gimmick. Like, I believe there's a Jason movie that takes place in New York City.
Yes.
And that's a gimmick.
That's exactly. And then there's also, I mean, this is going to kind of bring up a whole other bunch of connections, but there's like Jason going to space.
Oh yeah,
and
that's Jason X, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna say like if Scream did that, it'd basically be Among Us, right?
Yeah, right.
But I'm a believer in that Scream. What I've seen from the sixth one could do something ridiculous like this, and I think they could take it serious enough where
Scream
I think it'd be good.
is Among Us, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I never thought of that, and I'm surprised the movie didn't reference that.
Among Us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Among Us is already like old. Is old, right? Like it's over now. So
I guess Among Us is just the thing, right?
yeah. I am surprised they didn't bring it up, actually.
But I was going to say it also would make it more of a. I got kind of confused there, but the fact that they were able to use New York City the way that they did, like you said, it's only possible for you to get a scene that kind of stress filled because apartments are that close in New York, and then we have a bunch of scenes where things, and not to get into spoil, but where it happens in crowds of people, and we're close to a big city in LA. People do just mind their business whenever stuff is going about. So I think that is such a realistic take to be like, to do the opposite of, when you're in where all the other Scream movies take place. I can't remember at the top of my head right now where that is.
It's California. It's Woodsboro.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just California. But I was going to say is that the fact that there isn't a lot of people around is kind of what always works for slashers, But for here in this aspect to really see that social factor play a lot into what, like, oh, look, the opposite, and actually work, I think is what's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, how many train rides or moments have you had in LA where you just mind your own business?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm pretty sure somebody just got shot.
Just-
I'm going to walk that way.
Just yesterday, like, I was having an experience where there was a security, basically like a lot of a manager, right? There's a lot of cars that go in and out. They just kind of tell. And like this guy just took it personal that he wouldn't, like, you don't fit or whatever. But there was another car just kind of being on standby. And he was like, why don't you tell him anything, And this guy's just yelling at this older guy. And everybody's just walking by.
Yeah, I know, right? You see an old man about to get completely harassed and maybe beat up, and you're like, I'm just going to go the other way.
Yeah, because they're like, I don't know if this guy has a gun. Like, the two sides of it, like, I don't know if this guy has a gun. Me trying to get involved. What am I going to get myself into? So that's the same premise.
They might both beat me up for getting involved.
Yeah, that's the whole social premise or a social, factor that I think really I don't expect from a Scream movie. And it really upped the ante compared to a lot of the sequels to the first one for me.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to feel similarities to those Gotham scenes on Halloween night in the Batman. You know, of just like, wow, this, no offense, New York, be like this dirty, grungy city and all these people and this getting the way that you could get lost in the crowd and a murder could happen and no one would even notice. And I do think that that's what made this feel so refreshing was the change of location. If this was another movie in Woodsboro, I feel like we would be comparing it to Scream 5 again, which is, I don't know if it's anybody's favorite. I do think that it's unfairly been getting shit on in the past few weeks now that Scream 6 has been, a topic of conversation because obviously the critics have seen it a few weeks ago when during the premieres and stuff like that. And then the word started getting out like, oh, this is really good. This is the best one since the original. Totally refreshing take. So then I do think it became kind of popular to just start bagging on the fifth one. Like, that one fucking sucks. I would say that I only think there's one bad Scream movie, and we'll get to it later. But I only think there's one bad movie in this franchise. But I do think that the fifth one started getting a little. It's like, okay, where was this last year? Everybody loved this movie last year. Obviously not everybody, but I didn't think it was getting as much hate as it was now. But this does bring me to the two directors, right? Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. Inspired filmmaking, honestly. I can't believe they could take this franchise after it's been this long and give us something so good.
I think let's compare it to, because we did it in the movies, Halloween. Talk about polar opposites of picking up. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay. Just picking up and really running with it. And I think also adding adding to this that I want to say, because I think it's owed to the directors, is we're at a technological level right now with movies where you can make something that is a B-rated movie look really good if you put the right budget into it. Mm-hmm. There's another movie we'll talk about in our quick hits that has something to do with that too. But I think it's the fact that we're at the right space for this to look really good, and it did. I thought it was shot really well. There's a lot of scenes in the subway that aren't in the trailer that I thought were shot in the dark really well, that I think really, again, add to some of the favorite things that we want to look in horror and how to move it forward to be, I think, like, up to date, I would say, for, you know, all the Gen Zers to like and stuff like that.
Yeah, so just comparing this movie to like the latest Halloween film, I do think that the newest Halloween trilogy has been god awful.
Yeah,
like,
really bad.
So tired. Retire this franchise. Retire
What's
Michael
what's
Myers.
the meme? Tired versus Wired?
Yeah, Scream 6, Wired. Halloween ends, tired, bro. Like, really tired, honestly. I could not be more done with the Halloween franchise. And to compare it to Scream, I think that's a movie that has one good movie and nothing but bad sequels. Yeah, so I mean, we're not here to shit on the Halloween movies.
We did that already.
We did our love letter to the first movie, even though I guess I wasn't really doing a love letter to it. But even the first Halloween is not my favorite. But yeah, getting back to this one. So our two directors, I do think that they did a very good job. I thought that the casting of Melissa Barea has paid off more in this movie than it did in Scream 5. I did think that she was a weaker part of the first one. It's not her character. I just think that the acting was kind of awkward. I don't want to say phoned in, because Melissa Barea is like a you know, she's been in the game since she was very young in Mexico, like at American art schools, and then she went to Tisch in New York. So, you know, she's been in things since she was a teenager. So I just think that she is finally hitting her stride as a very good actress. I mean, Jenna Ortega, come on, she's the internet's darling. I feel like she's now becoming just you know, a pop culture darling now that she's on like Saturday Night Live and things like that, and Wednesday. You know, I mean, I don't want to say we were early to the party, but with X, we've been, you know, ringing the bell now for a while that, you know, Jenna Ortega is it. She's a Scream queen. And I do think that now Melissa Barea has become, honestly, one of my favorite horror final girls, even though, you know, the Scream movies never just end with one person at the end. But I don't think that's a spoiler to say. I mean, if you've seen any of the Scream movies, the original three main characters, quote unquote, are still kicking for the most part.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean,
I don't think that's giving too much
the main
away.
one from the first one is still around. So I mean, just
Yeah, in
after
spirit
films
now,
and film,
because they don't want to pay Neve Campbell to be in these movies, which is like
insane.
Yeah, I mean, I know we were talking about the directors, and I don't want to put this on them, but this is a production thing. This is a studio thing. I think it's an absolute fucking travesty that they don't want to pay Neve Campbell the money that she wants to come back for Scream 6 when this is all built off of her wonderful performance in the first one.
I will say though, this sucks because I feel like because she's not in this one, I like Melissa Barea more, or she's able to get me more invested into her character.
Yeah, it is a double-edged sword, because I do think that one of the great things about this movie compared to maybe 5 and 4 is that it does its best, especially with the location change and just the progression of the story, to it's time to kind of let the past die in a very Luke Skywalker type of way. And I do think that if they're going to keep going forward with this franchise, which I don't see why they would stop, honestly.
Agreed.
Even though all
It's been
good things need to come to an end. So yes, it should stop, but I don't see why they will, especially with the money that this thing's already raking in. Comparing it to Megan, which is like another horror movie that was out recently that did very well. Scream 6 is already doing better. And there was another horror movie, but I don't remember which one it was, which is kind of making this a moot point. But
that it's out.
all I wanted to say is that these other horror movies that have been
Is it Knock at the Cabin?
theatrically released and things like that Scream 6 is already pacing at a higher rate than they are to make more money. And I think that this is also the highest opening for a Scream movie since the first one, I believe, or maybe ever. So yeah, I mean, it's doing well. It's on track to make over 100 million, which it hasn't happened since the first one. Which, I mean, granted, back in the day, that was way more money than it is now. But yeah, I just think that this this movie with these directors and these actors is doing its best to push the story forward in a way that keeps it fresh, in a way that other franchises might be scared to do, honestly.
Was it Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah, I do think it was that.
Because that's the only other horror movie I know that's come out within maybe the last 3 months. That's like a huge horror movie, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Which even that,
I understand that one not outpacing this, but it's still it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you know? So you would think it's still something worth comparing to this.
yeah, I will say for the sake of comparisons that, you know, M. Night Shyamalan is probably as big as the Scream franchise.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like his collective work.
Exactly.
Is it all, you know, what's the twist? Oh, it's M. Night Shyamalan, you know?
Yeah.
Which, not a spoiler, but there's a reference to him in this movie. I don't know if you caught that.
I don't think so, actually.
There is a theater in the movie that I won't say what it's for, but there's a theater in the movie, and on the kiosk or what do they call those things outside? Not the kiosk.
Where they put the names of what's going on?
Yeah, whatever. It
With
says
the
M.
show.
Night Shyamalan, and then it has like some fake movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, no, I didn't catch that. I was looking at that. I didn't catch that one.
There's a lot of stuff like that in this movie.
There's a lot of glove shitto.
There's a ton of glove shitto.
Even the posters we
as
got,
a horror
huh?
junkie, I loved it. You know, I'm not as big of a Star Wars fan as I am a horror fan. So I love when I'm like, oh, look, it's this from the horror movie I recognize.
Yeah, exactly,
you know?
exactly. And I mean, we're the nerds that they're talking about, the movie nerds in this movie all the time.
Yeah, basically
for years too.
You
This
know.
isn't just in this one.
Yeah,
For years.
exactly. Another thing I even wanted to bring up too, which I didn't know if this was just a production flaw or a callback to the fifth film. Some of the posters that are in Chad and Mindy's house are in the apartment from the first scene, because we're doing our best to not spoil Scream 6 at all. I'm not the biggest hater of spoilers. Obviously, we do it on this show all the time, but I do think for Scream specifically, it's like, why did you just piss in my Cheerios? You know what I mean? It's like, why would you do this to me?
I think because, and in all honesty, because this is something that we know is a universe that likes to comment on itself and reuse its cycles, but then throw you off. I'm not going to even try to get even close to tell you what the cycle is. Like, if you know it, you know it. And if you don't, this is probably why you enjoy these movies a lot. So I'm not even going to point it out, you know? Yeah.
But I did just want to say that there's some of the posters in Chad and Mindy's house are in an apartment from one of the early scenes of the movie. That's not theirs. That's why I was like, oh, I wonder if that's just, they're like, maybe people will notice, or, you know, Paramount being like, fuck it, just use the same posters from
I did
Scream
notice
5.
the posters, actually. It's like that you brought that up. Kind of commenting how we started the conversation kind of more on the directors. I did like that for this one, because I didn't really look into, after the fifth one, that it's the same directors as Ready or Not, which is a movie that I
like
enjoy.
that movie a lot.
I like that movie a lot, and it's the reason I wanted to say is Samara Weaving is in the beginning of this movie, and that's kind of a callback to that. And another, I feel like that movie is because I think it was their first major movie.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes sense, like, you know, how we end up liking a lot of working horror directors, how that's a really good first film under their belt.
Yeah, it really is. And I kind of feel like Ready or Not was a good audition for something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not the biggest fan of this, because Marvel does this all the time, which is you go make an original movie and then we'll call you up to the big leagues and then you can go ahead and make a huge franchise film, which is essentially what Paramount has done with this. And I'm pretty sure they are doing that with the new Transformers movie as well, because I believe the director... Well, actually, you know what? What I was saying is that I'm pretty sure they take small directors now to make these new Transformers movies. But I can't remember if it's Bumblebee or this new one, Rise of the Beast, is directed by the guy who directed Creed 2, which is kind of why I was like, oh shit, I don't know if my point makes sense. But Stephen Caple Jr., he's making the new Transformers, I believe, Rise of the Beast. But this is kind of a thing in Hollywood now, which is you go out and you make your original movie, and then we'll call you up to add to the franchise.
I think the new one, you're right.
I'm sure Scream and some of these other franchises would love to have like Jordan Peele, obviously, or somebody like that, or Ari Aster or Robert Eggers. But I also am not going to hate on these directors who are, come on, if they asked you to make Scream 7, you wouldn't do it. Like I'm pretty sure I would.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them also go like them, the directors. of this movie, they probably grew up with the Scream universe.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's a little different for some of these other franchises than it is Marvel. It's like I actually do believe that these two directors loved the Scream movies. I do not buy for 1 second that Chloe Zhao even knew who the Eternals were before she made that movie.
Yeah, I agreed.
And I do think that one of the things that works in its favor is you have to make these movies but with people who love them.
No, yeah, I agree. I think
Scream would be a huge miss if it was directed by someone who thought that they were above this.
I also think the fact that I something that I really appreciate about these films, and I think they've leaned more into it, and I think it does have to do with knowing in the times that you're at and bringing the believability to horror films, especially slashers. I just had a side thought that I want to bring up later. Sorry, but a lot of the characters here aren't just here to be dead meat like before.
Yeah.
Every character here, as they're called here, the core four, actually, I really believe are people really trying to survive. And I think they are faced with somebody who is either stronger than them or smarter than them. And I think that that is something that maybe a lot of slashers or other B horror movies get flack for. But I think that's what made me, with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega in this movie, single-handedly are not ever scared really of the killer. And I think that is something that really kind of pushes me forward to really like you had compared it honestly, and I can completely agreeance with this is in like the Alien franchise with Ripley.
Yeah, Melissa Barrera to me, this is a hot take. She's up there now with the Ripleys, the Sarah Connors, you know, the strong female character, right? But I actually don't think that it's pandering or woke or any of the other things that people are going to accuse it of being if they're on that side of the fence.
Yeah.
But no, she's fucking badass, dude.
The reason why I say that is because I don't think it is quote unquote pandering at all, because the franchise has been set by Sydney, who is that type of character after obviously the first one.
Honestly, I should have brought her up as well because she is one of the great final girls, or you can't really call it action because it's a horror movie, but you know what I mean, of survivors, not just a survivor, but a fighter as well. You know what I mean? Like these are women who are warriors, and they're like, what I do love about the Scream franchise, which I don't like about Halloween, is how Laurie lives in this fear of Michael Myers. And I understand it's because he's an entity. What is he? Is he evil embodied? But I love that Gail Weathers and Sidney Prescott and now Tara and Sam Carpenter are like, you want to fuck around and find out? That's my favorite thing about these movies.
Yeah.
Like, you come around here, you're gonna get clapped.
Yeah. So that is I think something that it's actually anti-slasher to be like that, you know. Usually before
Samara Weaving in Ready or Not. Or if you've ever seen the movie You're Next, which is very similar to Ready or Not, that to me is what makes those slashers great as well, is that it's these women who are like, okay, you fucked up. Like, time to turn the tables around on you.
I might have been scared for half the movie, but now I get what's going on, and like I'm gonna outsmart you. And I think that is something that even in the character here, who is a recurring character from the fifth one, the tall ends up being actually never mind. I don't want to spoil that, but it's Mason Gooding is his name.
Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son.
Yeah, even his character, like because he's so tall, you know, in a presence, like he tries to really like stop what's going on and really use his, but he always gets overpowered. And it's really believable. I mean, in this particular movie, they really make sure to show you, be like, okay, he got overpowered.
In slasher movies, it doesn't matter if you're a big, strong, muscular guy. There's nothing your muscles can do to save you from someone coming up and stabbing you in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
So that's why I always, I feel like you have to kind of like leave that at the door. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people do that with slashers. It's like, I would simply just fight back. Like, well, first of all, no, you wouldn't. But I think, second of all,
I did think this isn't worth this. This isn't spoiling anything, I think. But there is a Dominican character in here, right, Romeo? They don't mess with him at all.
Nah. my man said, no, to Ghostface.
Yeah. Stop.
That was the most New York thing in the movie, was that guy.
He's like, stop, chill.
Since we're on the cast, I guess we could bring him up, right? Because his name is Josh Segarra? I've never seen this guy before. But anyways, he's not really anything worth mentioning, but I did think that it was cool that he was in the movie.
Yeah.
But I wanted to round out the cast because I do think this is one of the best cast of a Scream movie.
Agreed.
So Mason Gooding, Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barea, and the fourth member of the core four is Jasmine Savoy Brown. She plays Mindy. If you've seen the fifth one, you would understand, or if you haven't, she's basically the new Randy. You know what I mean? She's the horror fan. She breaks it down. I think that she's pretty funny, and I did like her more in this one than I do in Scream 5. I thought that Scream 6 elevated so much more of these characters, well, specifically the core four, than the fifth one did.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe it's always off-putting to meet someone new, especially in a franchise. You know, you're never sure if you're ready to move on, even though the fourth one kind of balanced it a little more because it was about the new generation, but with the older crew watching them. But in this fifth one, I wasn't so sold on them at first, and then in the sixth one here, I was like, man, the core four really stepped up to being maybe my favorite group of characters in the entire franchise.
I think what it is that before in the fifth one, it felt like they were just refilling in like substitution, as we like to play, and like, you know, we talk sports a lot. Like they were just substitutions. They were regens and they were substitutions for roles in the movie.
They
weren't
really
necessarily
became their own in this one.
And then, exactly. And I was just saying, this one, it really felt like, no, like we were that. But we now that we went through the trauma, we're not just filling roles anymore. Now we're actively are trying to become just like, in this, because this is obviously a callback to the second one as well. But it's that this is following protocol, but at the same way also creating a new path, which is, I think, is really hard to do. Which is why I think we're both impressed with this movie. And I am agreeing with you with the cast, because all of them. Kind of going down some more. Courtney Cox is in this again, obviously, but I think she plays just enough of a role in this movie, and the way that she is developed through the story is kind of that what you're saying. I think it's time to let go,
She's
know,
the
softly.
Splinter.
Yeah,
Yeah, another New York reference, right?
glad
and obviously she must be the only one who will. She's like, you know what? Hey, I need the check.
Well, actually, I do think there's this will be more interesting to talk about with the rankings, but Hayden Panettiere's like come back here, which I did not expect at all from Kirby, because we had talked about Kirby all week.
Not my favorite character.
But hey, the fact that you walked out and felt the completely opposite way after seeing her, I think just really shows how good the movie is.
Yeah, this movie does so much for me in terms of redemption for, you know, the not liking the cast as much in the fifth one, and then even characters like Kirby in the fourth one. I'm like, I didn't care about her at all. What the fuck? Like, and now I'm just like, yo, she's kind of sick.
Yeah.
Right? Like, damn. And then the last person I wanted to bring up, because I do feel like if you bring up anyone else, or well, I guess there's two people, but if you bring up anyone else, you're going to start getting into spoiler territory because you can't talk about them at all without, you know, giving stuff away. But is Dermot Mulroney? He is he's been around forever.
Yeah, he has
since the 80s, right?
I recognize
him. You've
him.
seen him on TV. You've seen him in movies.
Working
you've seen him in
actor.
direct to video. This is a working actor who's been in varying degrees of quality work, right, over many, many years. But I do think that he was selling it, dude. He was over the top. He was believable. He was, I think he knew what kind of movie he was in with the performance he was giving. So I thought that he gave a wonderful performance as well. He plays a detective, and I won't say anything else.
Yeah.
And then the last person, you can't talk Scream without talking Roger Jackson, the voice of Ghostface. There isn't much to say about him because his career is basically only being Ghostface, but is there a more iconic voice in all of Hollywood? I don't know.
Yeah, I like that you brought him up, but
You have
he's
to.
iconic.
How can you not? This would be disrespect if we didn't talk about it.
I will say there's another person I wanted to bring up. It was just surprising, and he is always like just shout out because this is the Grand Cinema Hotel. Tony Revolori being in this movie.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't want to say that he's in the movie. But anyways, they're starting to show it in the trailer. But yeah, he plays a character. I don't want to say who or what.
Yeah.
Anywho, I think we should kind of start wrapping this up a little bit because, like we said, we don't want to spoil the movie too much. Synopsis-wise, our survivors from the 2022 Woodsboro attack, our core four, have moved to New York City. The three of them are in college. Melissa Barea is there to protect her sister and her, her adopted found family from Woodsboro. And Ghostface is back, as he always is. You can't have a Scream movie without having Ghostface. And we'll leave it at that. Do you want to give some final thoughts on this movie before we get into the rankings?
It just rips, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. This movie fucking rips. One of my favorite movies of the year so far.
Yep.
And I do think I will be saying that in December as well.
I agree.
I highly, highly, highly recommend this film. Definitely go see it in the theater. I know they say all movies are intended to be watched in the theaters, but we all know that, not all movies are created equal, right? And I do think that this was a wonderful theater experience. I also wanted to bring up that we saw this in 3D the first time. Completely pointless. I know that you are not a big fan of 3D, which is why I was like, why are we even doing this? And as I don't want to say that I'm out here twerking for 3D, but you have to watch movies that were shot in 3D and sets that were created to be shown in 3D for a movie to have any value at all, which they didn't do here. I took off my glasses maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the movie. I was like, bro, it's not even blurry. Remember, I leaned over to you. I was like, the screen's not even blurry, which is how you know there was nothing going on. Glad we have A-list, because if I had paid $5 extra for those piece of fucking plastic glasses, I'm pretty sure I'd be a little more angry. That was one thing I wanted to bring up.
That's true.
And that the theater experience both times, exactly why I love going to the movies. They were hooting and hollering. When the reveal happens, I heard, no. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, the movie's just so back, baby. It's so Joe Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, do you have any last thoughts that you want to get off your chest before we begin the rankings?
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. So let's start with the Scream rankings. Do you want to go one by one, or should we just hurry this up and go my list, your list?
There'll obviously be discussion here. I
they're
think
not the same.
Our list, I think. Let's go.
Let's go through the whole list, because this is a lot of movies. So you go ahead. You go first.
So are we going 1 through, or like?
Just go 1 through 6.
Okay.
Tell me first to last.
So first one, I think the best film in the series is definitely the first one, Scream. Just iconic, and obviously, well, let me hurry up with this, and we'll discuss them later. The second one, I think, is the sixth one, the new one that we saw. The third one, I think, is Scream 2. The fourth one, I think, is Scream 4. The fifth best film on this, I think, is Scream 3. And the worst one, I think, is the fifth one.
Okay. So our lists are very different. I did something brave and bold. You know what? I'm not scared to say it. Scream 6 is my favorite Scream movie. I guess whatever, recency bias, but I saw it twice. I've had the time to think about it. I've rewatched all of the Scream movies. I've rewatched the fifth one like 2 or 3 times just to see how I really felt about it. And my ranking has changed a bit. So it's Scream 6, Scream 4, Scream 2, 5 Cream, which is what they were calling
5 Cream. Yeah.
They marketed the fifth one, which
It's
I
true.
think is a major misfire to not just call it Scream 5, because the posters look bad when you put them next to each other. And then Scream 3. I think Scream 3 is the only truly bad Scream movie. I think that it's just if I had to embody this movie with one thing, it would be Courtney Cox's hair. It would be like, that's how I think of Scream 3. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is just bad. Everything about this is bad. It feels so tired. I think it's a good thing that they let it die between 3 and 4, like the 11 years. I don't have anything really good to say about Scream 3, so we'll end it there. But maybe if you want to get into it a little more of how you came to this.
I will say that I think between Scream 2 and 4, I'm like, they could go either. They're ranked exactly the same. So I could,
for me, I disagree. I'm like, there's varying degrees of quality between 2, 3, and 4. But go on. Go ahead.
2 and 4? No, I'm saying 2 and 4 because those
2
are the
and 4.
Yeah, like those
I thought you were
specific
saying
2.
2
I'm
through
saying
4.
they could be switched over. Like the fourth one could be my third favorite one, or like those 2 are tied to me. Scream 2 and Scream 4.
You know, before Scream 6, I had it Scream 1 and Scream 2. I think Scream 2 is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's a great sequel. I think it builds on everything about the first one. I would say the cast is probably not as good, but I do think that the kills, the set pieces, and just the I think one of the great things about the second one is that they moved it out of Woodsboro. She's in college somewhere else. Yeah, I think Scream 2, I don't know how the pop culture public feels about it, but I do think it's an underrated movie.
Yeah,
I never hear anyone talk about Scream 2. It's always the first one.
I think it's because
No one ever talks about Scream 3.
yeah, the fourth one and the second one are only tied to me because I think we kind of talked about in the fourth one the reveal of who Ghostface is, and Emma Roberts is really, I think, is one of my favorite Ghostface killers.
Yeah. I mean, the only one we won't spoil is the new one, so
Yeah.
we're free to talk about it in any of the other ones. If you haven't seen Scream 4, it's 11, 12 years old at this point. That's
Yeah.
on you, bud.
So the only reason those two I think are like interchangeable to me depends is the sets in Scream 2, like you said, are really good.
Okay, what about ranking the Ghostface killers? How would you feel comfortable doing that? I mean, obviously, except for the new one. Okay, there's some dead air here. So let me go first. Obviously, Stu and Billy are the best, right?
Yeah.
And then I do think that Emma Roberts is next.
Second, yeah.
Yeah. After that, I would probably go. Well, without Emma Roberts, you have to have Charlie, right? He's the second one, and then I guess I would say
That's
Roman Bridger. The even though Scream 3 is the worst one, I do think that him being the only individual Ghostface, I think he was a better one than Vinny Altieri and Nancy Loomis.
That's what I would. Yeah.
And then as for Richie and Amber from the fifth one, they're the worst.
They're the worst, and I'm not gonna say I necessarily hate them, but they're the worst.
Okay, so where do you want to place? We won't say who they are, but where do you want to place the ghost face? Maybe add the S with the parentheses at the end. Huh? Where would you rank the ghost faces of Scream
second
6?
to last.
Second to last, really?
Yeah, I'm not that I didn't enjoy them. Maybe past the Roman Bridger, right?
Yeah,
I would say actually past them, past him.
For
past
me,
him.
it would be Billy and Stu, Emma Roberts. What's her name in the? I can't even remember her name, but Emma Roberts and then Charlie Walker, it's funny because I remember his name, but I don't remember
Jill.
Jill. Okay, that's
It's
fine.
Emma Roberts. Her name is Jill Roberts in that.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some inspired filmmaking right there, bud. Hey, that's like that one Mexican actor named who's Hector in every single thing he's in.
Dude, I didn't know that your last name was Roberts in that too. That's so funny.
Okay, so let's go Bill and Stewie, Jill and Charlie, and then I'm gonna go these probably Roman, and then Scream 6, and then Nancy or Vinny and Nancy
Okay, yeah.
Loomis, and then Richie and Amber.
100% agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we can agree on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the definitive Ghostface ranking, but I don't think anytime soon we'll be agreeing on our like movie rankings. I feel like we feel pretty strongly in our ways.
I think. Well, the only real difference is the. Because if you want to take it to the rankings, I do have the original and the new one ranked the same. So it's not that one necessarily is better than the other one. I think they're like, okay, these are both as good. So I'm not which one's one, which one's two, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to get into the actual rankings, I think 1 and 6 are 4.5s, and then I think the rest are 3s, and then I think Scream 3 is the only 2.
Yeah, see, like, because that's where the big difference is that you still like the fifth one, and I think that's the worst one out of all of them.
No, yeah, I do like that one a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I think that's where we get it mixed up. Is that I think that Scream 3 is the only bad one, and you think Scream 5 is the only bad one, right?
No, I think 3 and 5 are bad.
Oh,
So I'm just adding fifth. Like, you know what I mean? But the thing is that I think the fifth one is even worse than the third one. So that's also our difference here. But everything else where we put them, I think it's pretty equal.
For me, it is the opening scene with Jenna Ortega. That scene is so fucking good. Just with the updated technology, and then the fact that you're like, oh, okay, is she the Drew Barrymore of this movie? But the gore in that scene, so good. Like when she gets stabbed in the hand, when he breaks her ankle, just she gets gutted. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is so good. And then yes, while it's not the best ghost faces and while it's not the most original story, I still think that the gore and the violence in that movie is what gets me as like, okay, this is better than 3. And then you know, maybe I missed it. Maybe I had one too many drinks or something. But when I was watching the third one, I was just like, what the fuck is this shit with Sydney seeing the ghost of her mother? I was just like, is this some movie magic? Like Roman Bridger is like tricking her? Like that's an actual actress? Or is Sydney actually starting to have these flashbacks of her mother as a ghost? Which is something they do now with the Billy Loomis character. But I just think it's handled in a much more quality way.
Yeah, I think that the third and the fifth one, I think the issue with them for me is that those are the two that try the hardest to connect to the. But this is how it's related to this, and especially because I think Scream, tried so much to reboot the first because I feel like that was their plans. I think it just. I think all of these movies, though, I will be in agreement that the fifth one. That's what I did like about it when I first saw it, was that I thought the horror aspects of it were really good. So the bloody scenes and the kills, which I think is what really pushes the second one for me, because I think that they even marketed it as, or even in the joke, it's kind of like bigger kills, more bloody, you know, it has to be bigger sets. And I think in the second one, they really deliver with that.
Yeah, dude. There's just a couple of the kills in the second one. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Like when Ghostface is driving the car and the cop gets the pole through the eye.
Yeah.
When Sydney's boyfriend is crucified on that star and raised up on the theater set. Dewey getting stabbed in the back. And Gail's in the sound booth and can't hear him. Talk about meta moments in movies. That right there encapsulates everything that Scream is about.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel comfortable moving on from the Scream rankings and onto the quick hits. Where do you want to go here? I mean, we saw another movie this week. It unfortunately is not worth an episode, but I do think that there was some redeeming stuff there. You want to talk about 65?
Yeah. I think 65 has to be the start for our quick hits. 65, I think a very, display of just Adam Driver's broad shoulders being too big to let any movie drop. Because, I mean, that was really the draw for us here, I think.
Yeah.
And he doesn't disappoint.
I wouldn't watch this if Adam Driver wasn't in it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think this movie took a different approach than everybody thought it would, which I don't think is an issue, but I did like the character drivenness that this movie had, but it's not an easy movie. I think you had said this to recommend people to watch.
Oh, I don't feel comfortable by the end of this small discussion going, you need to go see 65 on a rainy Friday night and risk your life. I'm talking when it's a full coverage insurance type of rain out there. I wouldn't be like, yeah, you need to go see 65. Dude. Definitely, if you're going to the movies this weekend, go see Scream. If you're not familiar with 65, so Adam Driver is technically an alien, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Because the movie, it doesn't take place 65 million
Alien
years ago.
pilot.
Yeah, he is a Martian pilot from a planet called Samaris.
It is 65 million years ago, though.
Yeah, but that's a misdirection. It makes it seem like he's from Earth and it takes place 65 million years in the past. The movie takes place in whatever year that would be, but he's from an alien civilization way before mankind, even though he is mankind. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And he's a pilot and he crash lands on an unidentified celestial body, which happens to be Earth 65 million years ago. So he never goes into the past.
No.
This movie takes place 65 million years ago.
Yeah.
Which is extremely confusing, way more than it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to just be like, this movie is like other movies, you could have been like, oh, you know, like in Planet of the Apes, where they go to space and then they come back and it's the future. You could have done that, but just been like, oh, it's the past. So I thought They made it way more convoluted than it needed to be. I have seen a lot of people shitting on the sci-fi tropes of the movie, which I'm not gonna defend, but I'm also gonna say it's being a little harsh for a movie about a man fighting dinosaurs.
I like the technology in this. I think that's one of the four things that I did
Well,
like.
I don't mean the sci-fi technology. I mean the tropes of sci-fi, like the fact that he's a Martian, but he's a human being who speaks English when humanity has not. How that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Like, yeah, that's just a movie. Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Okay, check reality at the door, but that's just bad writing. Because one of the characters in this movie speaks an alien language.
Yeah.
Which is another, like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you make this way more convoluted than it needed to be? I don't know. It's like it's like how in Star Wars, I don't know if they ever like go and say that they are humans, but it's kind of like, well, what are they then if they're not humans, right? Because Adam Driver is just some Martian from another planet who is a pilot, and he's going to do a transport, and he gets caught up in what is it, an asteroid belt, and this has him crash land on Earth. So
I will say it goes with the idea
premise is ridiculous.
that carbon-based life that is human exists somewhere else, and that there is already another universe that exists. And then
this movie doesn't mention that, though.
This is uncharted. Well, because this is uncharted territory. Earth is uncharted territory in this whole celestial map that they have. So, I mean, in presence that it would make sense, I guess, that a human coming into Earth 65 million years ago would be an alien, but now it wouldn't be. I guess it just goes with that premise, but it doesn't, I wouldn't say it really goes out of its way to explain it, but the movie's only, I think that's another grift that I have, is the movie's only an hour 30, and a lot of the sentiments, even though I wouldn't want it to be longer, for those things to really deliver, it would have to be longer, because I would have had to spend more time with some of the characters that it wants me to care about.
It's not the hardest of sci-fi either, really.
No, it's not.
At its depth, it's kind of, or at its deepest core, it really is something like The Last of Us, just to put something relevant.
Yeah.
In pop culture right now. It's a movie about a guy who's got to get a little girl to a destination so she can be saved, right? I honestly do think that is its biggest misfire, that it's not a John Wick style movie of a pilot crash landing on Earth and just fighting dinosaurs for an hour and a half.
It's not plain.
It feels much like a video game in terms of like the plot is just missions. It isn't really a plot. There's some flashbacks here and there trying to endear you to Adam Driver and why you should care about him. And it's like, dude, it's fucking Adam Driver. I already care about him before I even started watching this movie. I was already invested in him. Yeah, it's just not a great time, but definitely not as bad as people are making it seem. I wouldn't rush out to go see this, but I would say to check this out when it's on streaming.
No one will remember this.
Don't pay $20 either. Wait till it's $5.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I did tell you when we walked out, I was like, I can't wait till no one remembers this movie besides me. And then in 20 years, I'm going to be like, actually, it was pretty sick.
65? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing because I did think that me and you were really excited for this movie, like way more than we had any right to be. And I do think that they blue balled us, dude. This is not the movie that they marketed.
Yeah, I think something we had talked about too was the CGI is bad in this, which after re-looking at the budget, like, it could have been better. But I think that is something where
because this was a conversation that we had, was that we thought it was only a $45 million movie, right? Which I know we shit on bad CGI all the time, but when a movie costs $200 million. You don't have an excuse for anything to look bad. You can't buy quality with $200 million. But when a movie costs 45, I'm like, all right, chill. They probably paid Adam Driver $10 million to be in this movie. Be like,
yeah.
So there goes like a big chunk of the budget right there.
Yeah.
But after seeing that it did cost 90, and with the tax rebates is how it got down to 45. Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I'm not gonna disrespect and say PS2, but I will say PS3 or 4 graphics.
Yeah. I think there is some scenes in this conversation we talked about. It doesn't look too far off from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, but I mean, we hated that CGI. So, yeah, I'm not
that
about
is
to
not
just
a compliment.
just because Adam Driver's in this. I'm not about to act like the CGI isn't bad.
And you know what? Not to cut you off here, but the only reason Adam Driver is in this movie is because his son loves dinosaurs.
Oh,
so
nice.
He's not like, oh, this is my passion project that I've been dying to make. He has a 6-year-old son that knows everything about dinosaurs, so he was like, oh, this is gonna score me some points. And he did an interview on Kimmel or Fallon or whatever, and he's like, my son has no interest in this movie, and he also hates movies.
Oh, nice, perfect.
So, classic dad. You could never impress your kids, even if you're fucking Adam Driver.
He did it, and he's not even gonna watch it. And then a whole other thing that we talked about here, his son's gonna be like, "What dinosaur even is that? what kind of dinosaur is that?"
Sorry, I was taking a drink there, but you almost made me spit it out. These are the most fake-looking dinosaurs I've ever seen. They don't even look. How can I say accurate when I've never seen a real dinosaur?
Yeah.
But
that's
with
why.
my knowledge of all the dinosaurs I've seen in media, like, this doesn't look like any dinosaur I've ever fucking seen. Why does this thing have human eyes? You know what I mean?
The one very big plus point that it makes me this movie, even in terms of our ranking, making it 3 stars, is the kills are sweet.
Yeah, sweet. Overly convoluted. Somehow too long and not long enough.
Little boring.
Little boring. Yeah. So 65. I hate to say it. Kind of a miss.
You should have just gone full throttle on you said John Wick against the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Even if the
that's what
CGI was bad, at least it was like, the Velocipaster.
Okay, so that's gonna take us to
Very
it's
fun.
Oscar day
Once a
as
time.
we
Yeah.
record. It just
Playing
started right
right
now.
now.
I'm looking at Jimmy Kimmel's ugly mug on the screen.
Like, and it is on mute. So good.
Yeah, this is how the Oscars was intended to be watched, on mute. I think we're gonna do.
Sound? Is that what you wanted to start?
We'll start with. I was trying to figure out how many categories we're gonna do, because we're not gonna do every single one.
Of course not.
Just because there's certain things I don't feel comfortable either talking about or. No, you know what? The only other two that we wouldn't be doing is costume design and makeup, and I do feel like let's just
we could do
let's
doc
just
and
do them all
production
out.
design. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll start. This is a post from Film Enthusiast. So shout out that Instagram account. When the nominees came out, they put it all in one post to make it easy, because I feel like in previous years when we wanted to talk about the Oscars, sometimes it's like just one long list that you had to keep scrolling up and down to look
Yeah.
at. So Film Enthusiast put it in a way where it's easily digestible. And I do think that 2022, we basically seen all of these films.
Yeah.
Or the ones that are nominated, I've seen a majority of them, so I do feel comfortable in handing out these predictions. So, as of 5:06 Pacific Standard Time on Sunday, March 12th, we're gonna make our Oscar predictions before they hand out any Oscars.
Hurry
So
up,
let's
Kimmel.
start
Drop
with-
one so I can cheat on one. It'd be like,
I didn't even hear what you said. What did you say?
no, I was like, hurry up, Kimmel. Drop one so I could cheat on one.
Okay, let's start with costume design. We got Babylon, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything All Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which is the only one neither of us have seen.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us even know that movie exists.
Is that real?
Let's go ahead and pick one here. I'm gonna go with Elvis.
Yeah, I think it's either gonna be. I think it might be Elvis just because of how well they made Austin Butler look. I agree with you. Like, it might carry it that much. And if I think the only other two between it might be Black Panther and Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I think if Everything Everywhere All at Once gets its sweep that it might be anticipated to get, they might give this one to someone else. I can see Elvis winning this one.
Okay, well, since you gave the same answer as me, I'll give a separate answer, which is Babylon. I would give it to Babylon. Wait,
Oh.
no. I would give it to Black Panther, actually. Elvis or Black Panther.
So, is the stipulations for what we want to win or what you think will win? This predictions
well,
is what we want to
and
win.
what I
right?
think will win are usually the same thing. In
Okay.
my head, at least.
So no, I just wanted to know because what I would want to win for this might be Black Panther.
Okay, so Black Panther and Elvis. Makeup and hairstyling. All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther, Elvis, and The Whale. I can't keep saying Wakanda Forever just for the sake of saving time. You know what I'm talking about. Which one are you going to go here? You go first.
I'll do Elvis for this.
Okay, you're gonna go Elvis.
Yeah.
I will go. I'm gonna go with the Whale. Sure, why not?
That could happen. I can see that happening.
Not because I think it's quality, but because I think
could be like,
it
holy
would just
shit.
be the final nail in the coffin and a giant fuck you from Hollywood to general audiences.
Like,
And
wow.
we'll go ahead now. Documentary feature film, All That Breeze, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and
Navalny.
Navalny. And I have not seen much here, which is why I didn't want to really do this one. So I'm going to go Fire of Love, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say You Are Too, because I'm pretty sure this is the only one that both of us have seen.
That's the only one I've seen, but I think All the Beauty and the Bloodshed is gonna win.
Yeah, that one is the more popular of the
Exactly.
two, because I have seen people talking about this movie now for months.
Yeah,
and
same.
I have no clue what it's about, but I've just been waiting for it to come to me because I'm like I'm going to watch it. Production design. This is where it starts to get interesting as well. All Quiet on the Western Front, which is one of these movies that I don't know if you've noticed so far is sweeping these nominations. I've yet to see it. I don't know why.
I'm not interested. Not interested personally.
Okay, so we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. I'm going Avatar.
Elvis.
Okay, wow, you're going for an Elvis sweep, aren't you?
I just think these little things, Elvis is what it's
Is
here
what
for.
makes it good?
It's why it's here, I think.
Okay, we'll go film editing and sound, and I'm gonna just here we go, Elvis. Right? I think that Elvis, the editing, is the best part of the movie. I think it's what saves the movie, besides Austin Butler, obviously. He's magnetic as Elvis Presley. I think of all these movies, Banshees, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun, that Elvis is doing the most with editing. And I will say the biggest snub that should be here is Decision to Leave.
Agreed. I think I'd like Everything Everywhere wants to win this, but I think they might not appreciate the Adobe Pro editing. It's not really
I was going
cinematic.
to say, I don't think that a movie that was made on with Apple's tools on a laptop is even in the same league as something as Elvis. Where
So I will say, actually, for this one, I might take Top Gun.
Okay, that's interesting. So do you want to lock it in? Everything Everywhere All at Once or Top Gun? Which one you going? You have to pick
Top
one.
Gun.
Top Gun. Okay, so Elvis and Top Gun. And then for sound, we have All
Ooh.
Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, Top Gun. I'm pretty sure we have the same answer. Why don't you go ahead and say, just to reaffirm my thoughts?
I think man, it should be the Batman.
Of course it should be the Batman, dude. And all I have to say is the Batmobile chasing.
Yeah, because the only thing I was comparing it to in my head right now is Top Gun again, just because of the jets, but it's the Batman.
Yeah, but that movie is just jets. I'm talking Robert Pattinson's boots, the sound of the punches, the rain hitting the concrete. Everything about the Batman sound design is fantastic. And I do think that this movie is getting underrated,
Yeah.
in terms of categories. I think the Batman should be having a Dune-like sweep on the under the line categories.
Facts.
The Batman was fucking fantastic, and it's a movie experience I'll never forget because I've seen it in IMAX, I've seen it in Dolby, I've seen it in regular, and it hit every fucking time. So I don't mind us having the same answer there. I know it's kind of boring, but I don't know if you're a longtime listener, you know how much we love this movie.
Batman, yeah, the Batman. It's got to be the Batman.
And then so we did sound and editing, right? Original song and original score. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick. That's the Lady Gaga song. Lift Me Up from Black Panther. Not To from RRR. And This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm gonna go Not To from RRR.
I haven't seen it, but I was gonna. Yeah, I know the song, so I was gonna go with the same thing.
The fact
actually.
that you know the song from a
Yeah,
movie
that's
you
what I was
haven't
gonna
seen.
say. That.
Yeah, okay,
and the other ones, like I've watched all the other movies, but like Lift Me Up, Rihanna, like okay, it was literally at the end of the song, at the end of the movie.
This Is a Life. I don't remember what song that is from.
Exactly.
Everything
I know
Everywhere All at
Mitski, and
Once.
I don't know what song that is.
Dude, we've both seen Everything Everywhere All at Once collectively like 10 or 15 times now, and I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about.
And Hold My Hand and Top Gun Maverick, same thing. I think it's
just
played
a
at the
credit
end,
song.
Lady Gaga. Yeah, so I don't.
What are we
but
gonna
why?
put the Demi Lovato song next year for Scream?
The Scream, yeah. I think that's insulting
So
to even put
and
it on there.
not to because RRR is kind of a musical at some points.
Exactly.
It's the only one that is important to the plot. It's actually an interesting song, and the performance itself within the movie is fucking fantastic.
You were ballsy enough to put it on here. I think it should win.
Yeah, talk about this movie being snubbed.
Original
Nominees
score.
for original score: All Quiet on the Western
come on,
Front,
baby.
again. Babylon. Fucking hate that score. It's one of the worst scores I've ever heard in my life. The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fablemans. This is for me a bad category. The Batman should be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that. So if I could withhold my vote, I would for the Batman. I guess I'll go Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I feel like I thought you'd go Fableman's John Williams. I feel like is a lock.
I
for
can't
these
just
things.
give it to him because he's John Williams. Because
think
I'm
that-
not going to sit here and pretend I remember the score. I only had room for one score this year, and apparently it's the one I fucking hated.
Yeah, I was
which
gonna say because I think that's what's
Babylon.
gonna. I think that's gonna win Babylon.
Yeah. Man, the Chaz man sure loves jazz, huh?
Cheers.
Yeah. That ain't jazz. That's jizz. Okay, original screenplay, adapted screenplay. Okay, so we'll go original. The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness. You go first.
Yeah.
This is a heater right here.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Banshees.
Let's go.
It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. Okay, so I would go Banshees. I am going to go Banshees, but for the sake of throwing in another one, Tar.
Tar. Yeah.
Yeah, Tar.
Yeah.
Okay, what you asked me earlier of what I want to win and what I think should win, I want Banshees to win, but I think Tar will win.
Yeah.
Okay,
Agreed.
Yeah. So we could be in agreement there. And adapted screenplay. So I don't feel like I need to say this for you, but for the audience, adapted just means it's from something else. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a sequel. It's just anything that's not original.
Mm-hmm.
So All Quiet on the Western Front because it
happened.
was a movie and a book.
Yeah.
Glass Onion, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. My least favorite thing.
I think it's got to be Top Gun for me here.
Is it because it's the movie you like the most out of these categories, or because you actually think it's the best script out of these movies?
Actually, okay, no. I just because that's the one I like. But I'll be honest, that's what I want to win. But what I think will win is All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What I think will win, because the Oscars always does this, is Living. I think it's going to be a movie you never expect. Like, there's always one category where, like, I did not see that coming. Or this will be the only Oscar that it wins.
Yeah. You're right. Why is he there?
Eel the Rock. Okay, cinematography, visual effects. These are big ones for us. This is where it really starts
Batman
getting
snubbed.
interesting, where we feel, yeah, exactly, where we actually have like really heavy opinions on these, and it's not just let's just pick one. Cinematography, All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. What an awful title for a movie. Should have just called it Bardo.
Yeah.
Elvis, Empire of Light, which is Roger Deakins, which is kind of sad because nobody fucking saw that movie.
Yikes.
Even I haven't, and it's on HBO Max.
Big, I'm good.
And Tar. That's the one that a lot of people had a lot of problems with, but stylistically, where it could be lacking, technically Tar is perfect. Like how it's shot.
Yeah. I just think there's not much color, but since it's in Berlin, it kind of makes sense.
And since the Batman was absolutely fucking snubbed here, I'm gonna go Elvis.
I'm gonna go with what I want. I don't think it'll happen, but Bardo. I wish this was the only one that it would win.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I hate to break it to you, pal.
Oh look, I think it's animation up right now.
Oh shit! Here we'll go animated feature. We're gonna skip Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, Turning Red. I'm going Pinocchio. Hurry before it
I
comes
think
on.
I think Pinocchio. I think Pinocchio will win, and if not them, it's Puss in Boots.
Okay. We'll go back then. Visual effects. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther, Top Gun: Maverick. I'm going Avatar. I feel like that just has to be obvious. It's pushing the boundaries of visual effects more than I don't know any other film. Whether you like it or not, that's what Avatar does. So I'm gonna go Avatar. You go ahead.
The Batman.
Nice. I wouldn't be mad there either. International film, All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina, 1985, Close, EO, The Quiet Girl.
I think Argentina 1985 is going to win this. If I had to pick one, I would take EO.
I would go EO too. You know what? I haven't seen any of these movies. That's what's funny. What I would say here, I would go Decision to Leave or RRR if they were there.
Well, let's find out who wins.
Then animated, we're going to go, oh, here we go. We were...
GDT?
What is this? Huh.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Okay, he
Guillermo
did.
del Toro just won for Pinocchio. Nice. So we're going to have to hurry because...
Well, yeah.
These are coming out pretty fast now. So... You know, while we're here, I'll just say Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was an amazing fucking movie. I wouldn't have been mad if it was Turning Red either. Okay, so moving on. Actors in a supporting role, actress in a supporting role. Actors, Brendan Gleeson in The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway, Judd Hirsch in The Fablemans, Barry Keoghan in The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ki Hugh Kwan in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Go ahead, Alvaro.
Brendan Gleeson.
I'm going to go Ki Kwan.
Yeah, he deserves it too.
Yeah. Actress in a supporting role, Angela Bassett, Black Panther. Hong Chow the Whale, Carrie Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't even know why she's there. I don't think she should be. And Stephanie Sue, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Give me Stephanie Sue.
I'm going to go Carrie Condon.
She deserves it too.
I do think that it would be pretty sick if they gave it to Hong Chow.
Yeah, for the menu, that'd be tight.
Yeah. No.
For the whale, sorry.
Yeah. She's the best part of that awful movie. Actor in a leading role, actress in a leading role, Austin Butler, Elvis, Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser, The Whale, Paul Mescal, After Sun, Bill Nighy, and Living. I'm going to go Austin Butler and Elvis.
I think that's what will win.
Yeah.
I think that's what will win. I'm agreeing with that. But what I would like to win, Paul Mescal. I wish After Sun would win one Oscar. That'd be nice.
It
won't happen, though.
The Colin Farrell thing has been going for too long, and sometimes the Oscars does this thing where if you're popular for too long, then they go with something else. I don't know why they do it, honestly.
Yeah, but Colin Farrell, I would be very happy if he did win one too.
Yeah, like in my heart of hearts, that's what I really want to happen. But I do think that Austin Butler's going to win.
If Brendan won one for The Whale, I'll be surprised.
He was fantastic as Elvis Presley, way better than like Taron Egerton as fucking Elton John or Rami Malek as fucking Freddie Mercury, which is a god awful travesty of a performance.
They both. I mean,
he
Rami
embodied
won.
Elvis.
Yeah,
he was as good as Elvis was in real life. Where I was like, man, I see why everybody's in love with him.
I think they have a bias towards the musical, so I think
they
that's
love the idea of
the
not
biopic
being an original character.
Yeah,
wow, look at this impersonation, how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
Actress in a leading role: Kate Blanchett, Tar, Anna de Armas, Blonde, Andrea Riceborough, To Leslie, Michelle Williams, The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is the best category.
What a heater! What a heater! What do I want? I want to see Michelle Yeoh win, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, me too. Kate Blanchett, you have two. Come on.
Yeah.
Chill.
I mean, phenomenal as Lydia Tarr. I mean,
she was
the
so
memes.
good as Lydia Tarr that people think Lydia Tarr is a real person.
The memes are so good still. I'm not gonna be mad if she wins either, but give it to Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle
man.
Yeoh's performance was the best of 2022. I'm not hearing anything else. I'm sorry. If you don't like
Andrew
Everything
Riseborough?
Everywhere All at Once, don't care. And that takes us to Best Picture and Directing. So let's go Best Picture because it's a bigger category. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking.
Well, I want to win Everything Everywhere All at Once. What I think will win, I think The Banshees of Inisherin will win.
I could see that. But I don't think so. I feel like that movie, as much love as it got,
It will, that was what. That's it.
Like that's it, but
That's what it. Yeah.
You're lucky that people like this movie.
Or Tar. I can see Tar winning.
Yeah, Tar was so fucking good.
Yeah.
This is a heater of a category, honestly. Best Picture. I'm gonna go The Fabelmans.
Yeah. I mean,
This is a perfect Oscar movie. It's Steven fucking Spielberg. It's semi-autobiographical. It's about movies. He sits in a movie theater. Like, dude, this couldn't be a more Oscar movie. You know, like I feel like this is a safe bet right here. And I really fucking love the movie, so I also don't feel like I'm just picking something because I think it will win. I really do love The Fabelmans. It was my third favorite movie of the year.
Okay.
And this takes us to our final category, which is directing. So The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg, Tar, Todd Field, Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund. Go ahead.
Give this to my man Todd Field for coming every 20 years or every 15 years
Yeah,
to make
exactly,
a banger.
right?
Showing it's like this shit's easy, dog.
Yeah.
But I think Steven Spielberg has it. This is the one that if he doesn't win Best Picture, I think he takes Best Director here.
I'm going to go. Yeah, well, I totally agree with that because I don't think he's going to win both categories, but I think he's going to get one of
them, yeah.
But what I actually would like the most would be The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh.
Wow. Going back, I don't think I picked Everything Everywhere All at Once for anything except for actors.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, and Ki Kwan.
Oh, and Ki Kwan, yeah.
Yeah. I
just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think Everything Ever All at Once will. That's why I said that's what I want to win, but I don't think
kind of similar to The Banshees. I think so many good things have already happened for this movie that this is kind of like, what do you want? You want to eat the cake too? You know what I mean?
Like the fact that you're nominated is good enough.
Yeah, and I do think the strongest parts of the movie, whether you like the movie, don't like the movie, you think it's stupid, you think it's the best movie you've ever seen, I think it's undeniable that Michelle Yeoh and Ki Kwan give phenomenal performances.
Agreed.
Because if you don't like this movie, you definitely don't think that Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert deserve to win Best Director.
Yeah,
and if you don't like the directors, you definitely don't think they deserve to win
Best
Picture.
And I think they did a great job as director, but I wouldn't say they did a better job than the other directors who are up here.
Because as much as I love Everything Everywhere All at Once and is one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite movies of 2022, I just don't see it. I don't see it as a movie that is as rock solid and bulletproof as I feel that it is. I see all the criticisms. I understand all of the hate, but I do think that you can't hate on Michelle Yeoh and Ki Kwan. They give, even if they weren't in this movie, like if they were giving these performances in something else, it would be like, no, they're really fucking good.
This is I'm sorry, this is completely random and I forgot it because of the Scream 6. Do you know Spider is the guy in Scream 6?
No, I didn't.
And then they're talking about why James Cameron was like, we have to record these now, or if not, he's gonna look too much older.
Holy shit! He was like, I don't give a fuck about COVID. This kid's growing up.
Yeah, and I because right now we just saw on the screen The Way of Water, and we talked about Scream, so it hit me that I wanted to bring that up during the earlier part of the episode. But I was like, I don't know, if you've seen that. It's interesting.
Well, what a way to end the episode, man. Yeah. Spider Socorro gang, rise up. Hey, that's how culturally relevant Avatar is. You haven't even seen it, but you know who Spider is. Name one character. Spider Socorro.
Spider Socorro.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a jam-packed, really fun episode. This is probably the busiest week in movies. So I don't know if... how often we'll be doing something like this again, but I had a hell of a time doing it, and I can't wait till next week.
Go watch Scream,
and go watch Scream. And if time to watch the Oscars and find out if we were right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Thanks for checking back in. Have a beautiful night.
Good night.